Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. A strange edition, a Friday edition. Only 5 games on the slate, though. We still brought in the heavy hitter, Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy, along with Mike Gallagher from Homer's Bushes. Mike, how are you on this fine Friday?
Yeah, broke the bushes out because my Mellow Ball outtakes were quite bad. But mostly feel pretty good about the other ones though. Like Garrison Matthews not getting minutes, and most of the takes were pretty good. But that one, I leaned into it so hard. Homer Bush is probably for a couple days with being so bold and being so wrong.
Justin, how are you on this Friday?
Doing great. A little pleasant surprise that we only have 5 games on the slate, but we talked about this earlier. We're paying the price tomorrow with 11, but plenty to get to. Definitely live bet the Suns last night.
Oh my God!
Oh no! Yeah,
buddy, I'm down very bad on Suns in-game betting yesterday. I just kept firing. I was like, Dinwiddie's not going to keep shooting 60% from the field. I'm jamming again. I'm in it again.
I literally texted someone, Dinwiddie's going to cool off eventually, like 2 times.
Oh my God.
And,
so bad. So bad. Yeah. So
we'll recover from that. We went perfect. We hit perfect on props, and we've been running good and just gave so much of it back.
I gave it all back on in-game betting. Betting yesterday. We did win Celtics in-game betting, but yeah, the rest was just a disaster. All right, let's get to the injuries and in the questionable tags today. Let's start with Indiana. On the Indiana injury report, Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, as we've seen of late. Miles Turner, though, also listed questionable here with an ankle issue. Justin, what notes do you have on the Indy side of things?
Yeah, so Miles Turner suffered that sprained ankle in the final minute of Wednesday's game. He's battling for position in the paint with Markelle Fultz. He took his free throws, checked out, and was reportedly walking fine when he left the game. Good news is it's not that same ankle injury that kept him out earlier this season. But we've seen Indiana take precaution in these situations. So even if it is relatively minor, I lean towards him playing. I wouldn't be surprised if they held him out and showed some restraint here. So, if he does end up missing, we saw Isaiah Jackson start the last 2 games that Miles missed. And pretty much in those 2 games, Jackson and Jalen Smith split the center minutes. One of the games was against the Grizzlies. That was a blowout, but you look at the first half and they basically split the first half minutes at center before garbage time near the end. So we've seen Isaiah Jackson's minutes, 28 minutes, that first full game versus the Hawks, and then 13 first half minutes against the Grizzlies. So, 25, 28, I think is reasonable. Then Jalen gets a lot of the backup center minutes in that case. Aaron Nesmith, game time decision last game, ended up playing, only played 13 minutes. Still dealing with that sore wrist that's been bugging him since Tuesday. I really think Nesmith, he just needs like a game or 2 to sit out and get better. He just doesn't look right. He's not playing well. He played terribly last game, which explains why he only saw 13 minutes. So maybe it wouldn't surprise me to see him be held out in this situation, just given how badly he looked on Wednesday. And then Nembhard, don't have a ton on Nembhard. He was straight ruled out on Wednesday, missed the last 2 games. It's an illness. We don't have much context. So I think he has a shot to play, but that's just, kind of contextualizing given he missed 2 games already with an illness. So we've seen Chris Duarte get the last 2 starts in his place. And he would get the start again if Nembhard was out again tonight. My note here is just TJ McConnell's role. The last 3 games has been massive. You look at 104 touches per game, 8.5 minutes of possession per game, 19 potential assists per game. So 33, 41, 39 minutes in those 3 games. So his role is going to be massive once again if Nembhard is out in this spot. Like I said, don't have a big read on Nembhard's status for this one. Just haven't got much contextualization from Carlisle on his status.
Yeah, he should be back, right? He's had this illness basically all week, so you would think he should be back, but he got ruled out early, like you said. So I would probably lean in. They might bring him off the bench, right? We've seen kind of teams do this, returning from like a week off absence from illness. I wouldn't be totally shocked to see that, but seems unlikely. Probably bumping Duarte back to the bench. 39 minutes for Duarte. We had an under on him, and we missed the minutes real bad there. They didn't bring Trevelyan Queen in really at all. Matherin's minutes were moderate. They didn't really play too big. Neesmith, you mentioned, it just went really bad for that Nembhard bet that we had. And yeah, I should add to the McConnell stuff. He killed this Bucks team earlier this month. I had the 29-5-9 explosion a day after Carlisle said we're not playing 2-point guards at the same time. So probably overlap them if they're starting. I definitely would lean Duarte coming at the bench if Nembhard's back. And then if Neesmith's out, we've seen them go small with Matherin, but I don't think you can do that here. They're probably going to go to Ochai Brissett, I would think, or even Terry Taylor if he's out. So they would get the sacrificial lamb assignment against Giannis.
Very excited to see if the Bucks coverage on McConnell changes at all from last game, which was literally sag 7 feet off of him at the 3-point line and just let him shoot as much as he wanted. Very excited to see if they change that coverage.
One small transactional thing that I'm keeping an eye on is I think Trevelyan Queen's rights were traded yesterday to the South Bay Lake. I don't think it affects his two-way status with the Pacers, but that's something I caught on the timeline. I was like trying to look into like the G League rights rules and all that type of stuff, but his rights were traded yesterday in
the G League.
Yeah, in the G League, I think with Jarrett Culver, his right in a trade with him. So I think he should still be available today, but I'm not all 100% positive. I mean,
I've never heard of that.
We need to see some like G League rights expert.
If only we had somebody who was a G League expert on the program.
No, I'm not a G League CVA guy, man. I just look at the statistics.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that as well. Let's move to the Bucks side of things. AJ Green and Marjon Beauchamp questionable here. Marjon Beauchamp, of course, got the probable to out tag that the Bucks love to give. They really lean into that 25% of the time. If you're listed probable, you're going to be out. And of course, Giannis is listed probable today. So Justin, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on the Bucks tonight? Not a back-to-back, not a front end of back-to-back or anything like that, but big favorites against Indiana. Giannis probable tag, right knee soreness, always a concern. What are your thoughts here?
So I will note this is the right knee. So he's been listed repeatedly to start the season with sore left knee. So this is a different one. I just want to note that. This is the first time he's popped up this season with that right knee. Not a back-to-back, like you said. He's only played 27 and 31 minutes in the last two games. And I will also note that the two times he's missed this season and been downgraded from probable to out, he missed the game after that too. So I think this is a case where if they rule him out, it isn't because they're just like resting him in this spot. Yeah. It's more that it's actually like a thing, and he would have a chance to miss the following game as well, which has happened in both instances this season. So it kind of relieves a little bit of the anxiety that I have that we might get like some BS late scratch for Giannis off this probable tag, because we've seen in the past the 2 times season, like it's actually been a thing. He's missed more time than just that game. So I would lean towards him playing, especially with him just playing 27 and 31 minutes the last 2 games. This is another spot where there's some blowout risk here, where his minutes might be curbed a little just because of game flow. But if it ended up being a close game, I would expect his minutes to be ramped up from 27 to 31, more closer to like 33, 34.
Yeah, last time he had a multiple week absence, it kind of took him 3 games to get up to speed to being mid-30s. So that's kind of what I'm leaning on here. I like the matchup a ton, right? Getting Aaron Neesmith or Brissett or whoever else. So, and plus, if Nembhard plays, makes it a little bit tougher on Jrue Holiday.
And potentially Miles Turner too. Yep. That's a big as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're such a rim fun. We saw this last year where the rim resistance got way worse and the volume was still strong. They had the worst defense in the NBA per possession from January 1st on.
Let's move to the Grizzlies, where Desmond Bane is listed questionable. We did see the change in the starting lineup that Mike Gallagher expected and alluded to last game with Xavier Tillman going back to the bench, Brandon Clark starting. There's a question mark around whether that will be the case again tonight. Still no John Conchar. So, Mike, I'll start with you on the Grizzlies since you nailed the situation last time against Golden State. Do you think that was matchup specific? Do you think we're going to continue to see Brandon Clark start? What are your expectations there? And do you have any news and notes on Desmond Bane?
I'll just start with Clark. Jenkins is the worst quote in the NBA, so he didn't give too much, but he talked about a little bit of him changing role. I think it's not matchup based. I mean, you paid this guy money over the offseason. Xavier Tillman sometimes is even the rotation. Start Clark. He's killed the Wolves, obviously, too. So I think that
Yep.
kind of works in his favor. Minutes have been pretty strong. Certainly like the matchup. We'll still have rebounding issues. So I think Clark's a really, really strong play today. As for Desmond Bane, I haven't seen too much. I don't know if you saw anything, fan, on Bane. Not a back-to-back, but probably going to be games. Go ahead.
We talked about this with the Grizzlies. We don't really get anything from them. Their beat writers are kind of, all over the place. We just get the starting lineups from that one guy, and then the Grizzlies PR puts out the injury report, and that's about it. Right? And then Desmond Bane was in the game he finished the game on Wednesday against the Warriors, so I didn't see anything there. It's knee soreness, so I think he still has probably a good chance to go tonight. But I'm curious to see how they play, because obviously Zaire would most likely slide in the starting lineup if he misses. But this is a spot where you're playing a wing combination of Anthony Edwards and McDaniels, where I wonder how much double point with Tyus and Jaw you can get away with in the spot, right? So we've seen some variance in the spot. I mean, the last game that Bane missed, they saw 12 minutes of overlap. And the game before that, we saw 17 minutes of overlap. So obviously they're really short today if Bane ends up missing, because they don't have John Conchar as well. So it would be some overlap, but I'm just curious to see how much of it we'll actually see in this spot in this matchup.
Yeah, I would think a lot, actually, because I wrote about this in matchups today, and I talk about this a lot, where the Grizzlies run this high wall coverage with Jaden McDaniels and help, and they ran that coverage. They run that coverage a ton against John Morant, and it's led to some pretty crappy games from John Morant. On the year, he's like 25 points per game. Last year was only 20 points per game. He was 26 per game in the playoffs with big minutes. Shot the ball really poorly, and as you mentioned, Tyus Jones really took a lot of pressure off him. So if Bane's out, Tyus probably isn't starting, but he's going to get a really early sub. Zaire Williams, really bad offensive game, but he got a ton of minutes. To see him go 0 for 6 from 3 and still get pretty key minutes in the fourth quarter in a tight game. Jenkins defended him, so as you mentioned, if Bane's out, I'm definitely expecting him to start and probably be bad on offense. Wouldn't be a play. It would be very much a Tyus spot if Bane missed to me.
Yeah, we saw Zaire get up to 28 minutes in his last start. I think that's pretty reasonable for him to go upper 20s, just given how short they are. We'll see David Roddy get some rotation minutes as well. But I think we'll see a good amount of double big just out of necessity. Any other notes here we got on the Memphis side?
I think so.
No, you're expecting Clark, right? With me, you don't think Tillman starts? Right?
I mean, Clark. I only went Tillman last game because I thought that's what he would do. I don't think that was the right move. I think Clark should have been starting. Now that Jenkins kind of come around on that, I think it would continue because he should be starting. Over Zay.
It just made way too much. Maybe the matchup case, because you have Looney off the bench in the other matchup, that kind of made sense. That's why I was really, really confident that it was going to be Clark starting. So a little bit different case with Gobert there.
Yeah, but honestly, you'd probably rather have Tillman's minutes matched up with Naz Reid than you would with Gobert, because Gobert is not back to the basket. When I think of the two between Clark and Tillman, I think of Clark as verticality and athleticism, and I think of Tillman as bigger body and foundationally solid. And so if I was to choose which guy I'd rather have defending which guy, I'd probably rather have Tillman against Naz Reid anyway. So I think there's a couple things that probably the bigger question to me is, we saw they combined for 45 minutes last game. Jaren Jackson fouled out. The bigger question for me is, are they going to be a straight 48? Which I think if they're without Desmond Bane, it's definitely the case. Because they just have to start. They can't afford to take Jaren minutes from the 4 spot and move him to the center spot. They're not deep enough. So even off of the bench role, because of Brandon Clark's propensity to foul and different things, Xavier Tillman could still be relevant from a DFS perspective if they're a little shorthanded tonight. Obviously, Clark the preferred play.
And also worth noting, they basically went 9, which is uncharacteristic for the Grizzlies, which is a testament to how much they value that game, which we talked a lot about before this one.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the Minnesota side of things. Gobert listed questionable once again. They are on a back-to-back. Still no Taurean Prince here. Justin, any news and notes around Gobert? Any expectations that anything would be different that he'd play through this?
Gobert questionable last 2 games with the lingering groin soreness. He's played through that Q-tag the last 2 games without any reported issues, 36, 35 minutes. So it looks like just a precautionary Q-tag at this point. The back-to-back factor, is a little bit of a consideration, but I would still expect him to go. My only note here with Gobert is this matchup gets considerably tougher versus the Grizzlies versus his last 2 matchups where he played the Rockets and the Pelicans. Obviously not as tough, going from Steven Adams to Brandon Clark and Xavier Tillman, but still this Grizzlies defense has been elite since Jaren Jackson Jr. has been back, and it's not Rockets Pelicans soft, like we've seen recently.
Yeah, I did some digging because the Grizzlies defense has really slipped a little bit based on per possession. So I really dug in on why. And it has a lot to do with 3-point shooting. Their volume given up is really high. I think it was 39% of shots have been 3. That's up for them. But what's even worse is teams are making shots. They're shooting 44% from deep. So that's kind of why they're shooting a little bit off. The Wolves do lean into 3-point shooting a lot. We've seen when they're really hot, like last year, they'll bomb away. Cat is obviously part of that. But yeah, I actually cover boyed Anthony Edwards, who, just as a side note, he's pounded Dylan Brooks game after game. We saw him in the playoffs. He scored, 30 per game in the 2 matchups earlier. So I kind of went against the grain and covered boyed Anthony Edwards. He's rolls really good. Really, really positive comments from Chris Finch. So I think they're going to win this game, man. And I think Ant is going to come out really, really angry after they knocked him out. So I'm kind of looking for a big Ant game today.
Interesting. Let's move to Golden State, where Andrew Wiggins popped up late on the injury report. Last game listed out with the illness, questionable today. Justin, any read on Andrew Wiggins' availability tonight?
Yeah, so Kurt said he found out Wednesday morning that Wiggins was sick. Wiggins checked in with the doctor that afternoon and ended up being ruled out. We saw normally in this spot, we kind of expect a one and done where a guy misses a game and come back to the next game. But I will say, we just saw Andrew Wiggins with 5 games this month with an illness. And that was pretty prolonged because we were expecting him to come, back that second game, that third game, that fourth game, and just kind of lingered. So I will say in this spot, I'm a little bit more skeptical that he's has a good chance of returning, just given what we just saw earlier this month. And we saw on Wednesday, again, in this matchup, they went Jonathan Kuminga in the starting lineup instead of Dante DiVincenzo, though Dante DiVincenzo did close. He played 34 minutes to Kuminga's 24, and that comeback was spurred entirely by that small lineup with Steph, Poole, DiVincenzo, Clay, and Draymond at the end there. So I think, we're really seeing this Warriors team and Steve Kerr, embrace this small ball look. And they've obviously had a lot of success, but that's the main reason they were able to pull off this win on Wednesday. So I don't really have a strong read on Wiggins. I think he's probably if I had to peg it, 60-40 to play, just because I'm a little skeptical, just what we saw in January earlier this month. But I don't have anything else on him particularly.
Yeah, I'll add it's a little better spot for Kuminga, right? You're seeing a lot of size on the Raptors as well. And I was somewhat confident that DiVincenzo was going to start because he would draw the job assignment, and he did for almost all his minutes he was out there together with him. But you need a little bit of size. He probably would draw the Siakam matchup because I think they would want him out there. They'd probably put Draymond on Scotty Barnes, so let him kind of help off a little bit. So that'd be fun. A really big test too for Kuminga. I really like Fred VanVleet in this spot. There's no Raptors injuries, so just knock this out really quick. I think they're going to put Poole on him. We saw Poole guard Jaylen Brown, so they're trusting Poole a lot with defense right now. And I think VanVleet's touches has been up, his roll's been up. The minutes are going to be really high here. I think we saw the Raptors play pretty tight before it got their garbage time in Sacramento. So yeah, late game hammer, right? This 2-hour cushion. So we're not going to have the Wiggins information. Presumably, maybe they roll them out early, but there's a pretty decent chance we're not going to know. And this game should be pretty fun, up tempo, and the Raptors offense has been a little bit better too lately.
This one feels where that the Raptors will punish the Warriors in transition for their sloppiness. That's
yep.
Thinking.
I noted that as well. They're second in turnovers behind, of course, the Rockets. So the Raptors have been forcing a lot of turnovers again. They're starting to click there and kind of leaning on it. Dink and I talked about this on the pod, but it's so tough to do that night in, night out and rely on that. Because if you don't have it, you're really kind of off your game. But as I was saying, their offense has been really starting to hum a little bit. I think 5 of their last 6 games, their half-court offense has been 50th percentile or better. So they've been much better in that regard.
Let's move to the doubtfuls and outs. Lou Dort is out tonight for Oklahoma City. A bigger matchup for Oklahoma City going against Cleveland. We know they're very malleable with their starting lineups. Mike, the closest thing to loving G League stats in the NBA the last few years has been loving the Oklahoma City Thunder. So I'll start with you. What are the ramifications of no Lou Dort, and what does the starting lineup look like tonight against the against the Cleveland Cavaliers in your mind?
Okay, so there's a lot going on here, and this is like the easy part would be like, okay, they take Aaron Wiggins and put him in the starting lineup. That's been the go-to move. But now that they're starting Kenrich Williams at the center spot, and they started Kenrich Williams against Clint Capella, a lot of comments from Mark Dagnall saying they are okay with it. They think no matter how big you are, they'll rather play small, give up the stuff to the big guys, and they could still run their offense a little bit cleaner, more up motion, and run. There was quotes from Dagnall saying, like, we don't care about turners anymore. I'm paraphrasing. We just want to play fast. And he talked about that after the game ad nauseum. So if you're starting Kenrich Williams again at the center spot, you're down to your on-ball bucket of Aaron Wiggins, and that's it. So that would mean if they do start that way, and I'm leaning that way, there'll be maybe some staggering. But if they start Aaron Wiggins, there could be a lot of minutes going his way because they really do think they do want to start Kenrich Williams. So that's where I'm leaning. I think the other way, if you're okay, we only have Aaron Wiggins. If we're in foul trouble, our rotation's a mess. So if you're thinking like that and you want to insulate yourself, I would honestly start. I don't think they're going to start Muscala. They don't really have a post defense thing to worry about. It's going to be a lot of lobs and post up stuff from Mobley, but Muscala probably won't guard him. So I would think they'd actually start Darius Bazley in this spot, and then they would put Jalen Williams, not my guy, sadly, fans guy, and I'm still pissed I got fined yesterday. I think he would get the on-ball assignment guarding Darius Garland. They've used him in different ways. We saw him guard John Collins in the last game, and they're comfortable putting him on larger players consistently. So will be a big ask for Jalen Williams to go from those ways. But again, bottom line, I'm still leading Wiggins starting, but it's OKC. There's a kind of all bets are off situation they could definitely funnel because you're really putting yourself in a corner if you do go that way.
Dan, your thoughts on OKC?
I think Aaron Wiggins will start. I feel pretty confident about that. I think
you want to join the Galaxy brain, Darius Bazley?
Well, the last time, the last time Gallagher tried to Galaxy brain Darius Bazley, remember?
Yeah.
You can never be too confident with
I'm not.
And his front court rotations because they'll switch it up on you and change the second half starters, on a win. There's a lot less confidence. There's Jalen Williams, the LIN. Still in the mix as well. I got a DNP-CD, I think, last game. But I'm just going to stick to what I know and what I can confidently project, which is the wing rotation. I'll leave the front court prognostication to Gallagher here because there's a higher miss rate with Diagonal and
that definitely makes sense. I mean, I do have Homer bushes behind me, so you probably don't want to trust what I'm saying too much here.
You do draw the distinction of LIN, and it made me think we should just call them Len Williams and Lynn Williams. Like, what are we even doing with the J Dub and the J Will? Just Len and Lynn. Like, let's just move on to that. I'm sure we can just change these guys' names; they won't care.
The Hawks. Go ahead, Finn.
I'll also note one more thing with Josh Giddey. I want to highlight Josh Giddey here. 29-7 averaging for him in the last 8 games. And he gets a more favorable defensive matchup here with Okoro on Garland, and he's going to get LeVert. So I think this is a good Josh Giddey spot. Obviously, SJ is the star of this team, but Giddey has been balling as of late. Just want to give him some love.
Yeah. We're going to get the Cavs news probably in 5 minutes, so you could probably hold off and get that when we hit that.
Yeah,
we get that.
Okay.
So if you feel free to log in if you want to and lose some CLV stuff.
On Orlando, no Jonathan Isaac tonight. How do you think this impacts the Orlando rotation? Justin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton here. I'll hand it off to Gallagher on the.
Yeah. So shout out to me because I pegged that Terrence Ross was going to go bye with the Jonathan Isaac return. So we'll just anticipate him probably coming back into the mix. In a matchup that you need shooting really bad against Miami. They're second in 3-point frequency allowed. So, I would expect him to kind of enter the rotation. You're only talking about 10 minutes anyway, so it doesn't really move the needle too much. And really, I can't bet against #our Magic, but the matchup is so bad. Miami's so good around the rim. The Magic are 9th in possessions at the rim per game. If you take the at-rim stuff away from the Orlando, they could be really, really bad offensively. I can't bet on Miami, and I hate betting on the Magic. But if I, got zapped with the Men in Black thing, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is a great bet. But I've been burned too many times by Miami and Orlando. So, and then also too, Orlando. If you look at their like per possession percentile, it's like 90 percentile, 10 percentile, 85. Like there's like no consistency in their defense except just giving up threes like crazy.
Yeah. Our Magic, like the Indiana game was just a perfect tale of the Magic entirely, which is like the first quarter. It's like, this is the team we're all excited about. They're like putting it together. And then like they sleepwalk their way through the next 2 quarters, turn the ball over a bunch. And you're just like, okay, well, this is why they stink most of the time too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
You think they'll still go 11? I was thinking they might go 10 without Isaac.
Yeah, maybe you think they would just go. You think they would cut Bamba out too? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I would want to play another big. I think that makes sense. That's what I would do. But
I think there's a decent chance Bamba doesn't play tonight. Just
very good chance. I'd say it's a good chance. Yeah,
which is weird given that Isaac is out, but I think there's a decent chance.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Heat, we think Jimmy Butler's back. Who knows?
I have some intel here that I'll
Okay.
So I was.
Are you the one that's been sending the children to the games to get signed jerseys?
Apparently, that kid and that sister are like clout chasers, and they.
Oh yeah.
That's what I found out, and I like it ruined the whole thing for me. Like it's
There's pictures of them at all sorts of arenas with the signs,
the flag, and like. They're gonna start doing that for like just role players. Like I flew like 30,000 miles to watch Admiral Schofield play. Like why is he out of the rotation today? But anyways, I was told actually that Jimmy Butler showed up to the arena on Tuesday and just decided not to play, and this like back thing was not actually an issue. So he left the arena at halftime, which is why he wasn't around after the game. Just to, see like make it right with those kids. And he kind of wanted to send a message apparently about national TV games and him playing. So this back thing isn't actually an injury. He just decided not to play. So
what?
Yeah, he came back to the practice facility the next day, made amends with the team. The team can't really do anything at this point because he plays his ass off when he does play, and you're not going to like suspend him or fine him or anything for just choosing not to play. So this back thing isn't really an actual injury. So I would fully expect him to go tonight.
So you're saying he was protesting national television?
He was trying to televised games. He just showed up at the arena and decided not to play. That's what I was told. Yeah.
Crazy, man.
That's incredible. That's wild. And because he's upset of the scheduling of national TV games, that they're not getting enough national TV games. What is he upset about? What is the thing he's upset about? Not enough ads for Big Face Coffee.
Donovan Mitchell doubtful.
Yep. Okay. I'm making my bet right now.
Yeah.
Not that. I'm not going to say what it is. People in our Slack know. What's up?
Kevin Love is out again. Ricky Rubio. Out.
No Rubio.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of what we were expecting, but we'll take Donovan out of projections. Want to talk about that?
Well, let's get to that in a second. Let's stick with the Heat for now. There's probable tags on Strus, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith.
Caleb's in on the latest injury report.
Any other hijinks that may be oncoming with the Miami Heat?
I just get some random scoops. That was one. I like on Wednesday. I heard a scoop about that Christian Brown was going to start that game, which he ended up starting, and I bet Milwaukee that game, and I got burned on that. Great. Just love getting intel, and then acting getting CLB and then getting burned.
Buddy, I have like 4 years of insights that I've been getting for NFL stuff. That the news can be right, the information can be right, and the result of how I'm playing it in DFS or whatever just ends up wrong. It's been a whirlwind. It's like CLV is just always out there to get you, keep you honest.
Yeah, the CLV's got more burners than Brian Colangelo with that. And also, just to add with the Jimmy thing, man, like, how do you not even list him as probable? Like, you list all these freaking guys, and you don't even put him.
That's why he wasn't on the injury report.
I know, it's just crazy though.
That's why
I'm saying today though, you know.
Yeah, that's why you can't bet on the Heat, is because there's days like the stories I hear that where just a player just comes in and just decides not to play. Like, what are you gonna do? You know,
probable temperament. All right, let's get to the Cavs side of things. So Donovan Mitchell doubtful, Kevin Love out, Ricky Rubio out. Justin, what are your expectations for how this impacts the rotation? For Cleveland? And one thing I noted last night, we talked about this on the stream a little bit, but it was not the usual Karis LeVert big game that we have seen in the absence of Donovan Mitchell before. And I speculated that some of this is probably due to the presence of Ricky Rubio in that second unit, handling the ball a little bit more when they're split away from Garland and staggered. No Ricky Rubio tonight. Do we go back to the big games from Karis LeVert?
Yeah, I think the minutes should be there. The usage should be there too, because Helen Neto is going to get that role now, and there's a decent difference between those two. So LeVert starts, Jetty Osman, more time off the bench. Like I said, Neto slides into that Rubio rotation spot. Garland, good spot for him because we talked about this with OKC. No Dortcher Chamber on the other side, and we love targeting this OKC front court too. So Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, both good spots as well. It's just like a great spot like for a lot of these players overall against a soft OKC defense that's without their best defender. So Garland, LeVert, Mobley.
and that also apparently, based on the coaching quotes, doesn't really care about defense anymore. It's just like wanting to get out and try to outscore you and run and give up twos and trade for threes and transition and force steals and stuff. So probably going to see more high-paced, high-scoring OKC games going forward with the lineup decisions that they're making.
Yeah, I almost cover boyed Jared Allen. I mean, the matchup's so good, man. Like, OKC's rebounding is such trash. He's going to have a massive size advantage here. He has great pick and roll chemistry with Garland now. It's going to be the foundation of their offense. So I like him. I like Mobley too, man. His front court touches per game are up like 10 from like 30 to almost 40. Partly because of no Mitchell, but even when they had Mitchell, they were starting to increase. So his role is growing. A lot of quotes from over the years that when Mobley has a smaller guy on him, they'll get the ball in the pocket more and either score or just distribute the basketball. So both those guys are in really, really strong spots. Tough to pick between the two. Going to be certainly an ownership game for DFS, but I like Allen's matchup just a teensy bit more.
Yeah,
right.
If your big brain prediction comes true and Bazie's getting a lot of minutes, oh my goodness, the rebounding opportunities will be through the roof because
the block shot opportunities because Bazley likes to attack the rim with without much measure for who he's going up against. Teams on back-to-backs tonight that we should be aware of. From a filing perspective, Orlando on the second night of a back-to-back, we did get a file from them with no Jonathan Isaac.
They're tomorrow.
On the front end of a back-to-back. Cleveland, the only team on the back end of the back-to-back. On the front end of the back-to-back as well, Toronto and Minnesota. So just be aware there in terms of managing minutes in different situations there on these front end of back-to-backs. You might be more likely to see more spread rotations.
One thing I wanted to touch on with actually, I want to talk Chris Middleton. We talked about Giannis, but we've seen really heavy restrictions from Chris Middleton at 15 minutes. He's played so poorly in his small time back this season and even before too. And there was a quote from Mike Budenholzer saying he likes the chemistry between Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, and Brook Lopez in their first unit. Yeah. And I mean, this is a really, really hard cap on a knee injuries and a guy who hasn't been healthy this year. So I'm curious what fan thinks. I think he comes off the bench again, Middleton. I think the minutes come up a teensy bit more. So we'll probably put him at like 21, but I don't think he's going to get 24, 25 minutes here. It's just to go that light on minutes. It's so hard to see that increasing so much given how much time he's missed.
Yeah, we actually put Middleton in the projected starting lineup on Wednesday, expecting him to come on to start after coming off the bench the first game. Obviously, he didn't start, and he's kept like the same 15-minute limit. I would put him closer to like 18, 20 today. I think they're going to be really cautious with him. Zero reason for them to really push him, just given that setback and how much time he had to miss and how bad he looks right now. So I think the goal with him should be just to get him healthy by the playoffs. You know, that's the most important part. So I would expect Connaughton to start again today, and I wouldn't be surprised if Middleton comes off the bench for like 5 or 6 games,
like All-Star break or something.
They like really are cautious with his minutes, because like 15-15 back to back makes it seem like that was like a hard count from the medical and training staff from him. So I think we're probably going to keep Connaughton in the projected for a few more games until we really see some progression and movement on those Middleton minutes.
All right. That will do it for today's abbreviated injury report analysis show. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money, running in addition to many formats of NFL playoff contests still up for huge cash prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, ETR in-season subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. As always, myself and Gary Hartman will be behind the paywall at 5 o'clock Eastern time, breaking down this 5-game slate today. So join us, get your subscription, make sure to hop on in the chat. It's actually a Friday that we'll have more time to answer strategy questions and like general DFS lineup building type questions with just the 5 games. So pop in there tonight. As always, if you are uninterested in supporting us with your hard-earned dollars, we ask for your hard-earned clicks. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button and help feed that algorithm. You feed the algorithm, you help us feed our families, we feed you the injury report analysis you need to make your DFS lineups, your props bets, your sports bets, so on and so forth. Heading in to a big weekend of basketball, it's time to eat. Nom, 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 nom. See you next week.